Yeah, I really am gay, to avoid having to explain myself later. When my roommates were chatting about their love lives and the conversation turned to me, I just calmly dropped those words. That's how I came out to my roommates. It was so calm, like I just killed someone or something equally trivial. After a moment of awkward silence, third brother opened his mouth, still completely missing the point. As usual, bottom or top. It was kind of rude, but yeah, I'm more into being the bottom. Luckily, it was elder brother who saved me from the awkwardness with a smack to third brother's back of the head. With that slap, third brother finally caught up, his mind catching up to his mouth after flying ahead all this time. And then he bowed deeply several times, speaking in a perfectly exaggerated military accent to apologize. We were 4 guys in the dorm, sorted by age as the eldest, second eldest, third youngest, and the baby of the group as the second oldest in the dorm, born 10 days before him. I figured I should show some big brother kindness, so I gave a generous smile to let it slide. Brother, come on, tell me, why are you being so honest all of a sudden? Got someone special in the works? Young Master Thomas leaned in with a sly grin, still recovering from the scolding. There's someone I'd like to get closer to, but nothing's really happened yet. Under pressure from third brother, I honestly admitted, the moment I finished speaking, a clatter came from the second bed. Bang, slap, thud, crash. Looking over, I realized the noise was coming from Daniel, our youngest dorm mate, who usually didn't care much about romance and had been lying on his bed, playing mobile billiards instead of joining in the chat. He suddenly jumped up, but because he was tall, his head slammed straight into the ceiling. He winced from the pain and tried to crouch down, only to lose balance and tumble awkwardly onto all fours. The phone he'd been holding flew out of his hand, probably due to inertia, and vanished somewhere across the room. He stayed frozen in that crouched, prone position, eyes wide as saucers, staring at me with pure shock. His slightly drooping eyelids, combined with his usual sluggish demeanor, had always made people think of canines. And now he looked even more like a puppy. I laughed. The eldest and the third both burst out laughing too. The eldest assumed Daniel was shocked by the fact that I'm gay, and sighed, "Daniel, your reaction time is longer than my lifespan." The third had already apologized once, gossiped about my love life, and only then did the youngest finally react. Just as everyone was chuckling, Daniel suddenly shouted, his voice clearly tangled with confusion and a hint of something hard to name, nearly cracking in the process. "I'm not gay. Who even asked you?" The eldest and the third exchanged glances, their laughter dying down. My smirk gradually faded. I was completely caught off guard by his sudden remark. I was puzzled, but I still quietly agreed with what he said, that he wasn't gay. After 2 years of being around him, the idea that he might not be straight was only just a tiny bit less likely than a needle's eye. So I nodded and said, "I know, I'm just saying I am gay." As soon as I finished speaking, Daniel got even more agitated. He turned red in the face, almost looking flustered and annoyed, shouting, "I already said I'm not gay. Who even asked him that?" Old man and third brother started openly gossiping about Daniel, trying to figure out what was going on with his behavior. Unfortunately, they came up empty-handed. I was even more confused, my mouth opening and closing as I tried to say something but couldn't get the words out. I wanted to say something, but his totally illogical rant left me completely unsure of what to even say. After hesitating for a while, I finally said, but I am." Thinking back on why he'd been so adamant about not being gay, I added, "Daniel, if you're bothered by this." Before I could finish, Daniel shot off like a dog suddenly lunging forward, his face blazing red as he scrambled out of bed and dashed straight for the dorm door. The balcony door trembled from the force of him slamming it shut. No one had expected Daniel to react so strongly. Once the door slammed shut, everyone was left stunned. Young Master asked, "What's going on? What does that mean?" After a moment of thoughtful silence, the elder brother finally offered a plausible explanation. Could it be homophobia? But Daniel came from a well-off family, had broad horizons, was popular with everyone, and even had lesbian friends. There was no sign he couldn't accept such things. The third brother wasn't convinced. After pondering it for a bit, he suddenly got it and declared with certainty, "He's hiding it deep." The elder brother was impressed, took a quiet breath, shot the third brother a approving glance, raised his thumb, and said confidently, "Correct, fair, objective, reasonable, clear, profound, insightful, clever, sharp, comprehensive, spot on, incisive, wise in understanding life's truths, full of deep wisdom, powerful in its simplicity, perfectly expressed, mind-opening, seeing beyond appearances to the core, knowing both what and why, timeless and unshakable. Good brother, give the word and I'll crown you the truth king of. Couldn't help laughing. That's a rumor. I support Daniel taking them all the way to headquarters, seeing that I was still joking along with them, not showing any emotional distress. He casually added, "Don't overthink it." I knew they were just joking to lighten the mood and comfort me, so I smiled genuinely at them and nodded, saying everything was fine. The smile was real, but the "it's fine" wasn't. My heart sank halfway down. But I don't regret coming out about my sexuality. I never went out of my way to hide it before. I don't think it's something shameful or unnatural, but I get that some people might not be able to accept it. Still, the thought of Daniel being one of those who can't accept it kind of hurts. Sure, Daniel's always acting weird, but what he meant was pretty clear anyway. I thought about it for a bit. It's probably just that he can't really handle my orientation and wants to put some distance between us. After all, we were the closest before. Probably worried people would get the wrong idea about us. I glanced at the dorm door slammed shut, took a deep breath, and figured I'd find a chance to talk to him later. If he really can't accept it, well, that's okay too. It's just losing a breakfast buddy who's been bringing me meals nonstop all year and eating lunch and dinner with me every day. No big deal. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It hurts, honestly. Still stings a bit. Just losing my closest friend from college life. Nothing more than that. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It hurts, honestly. It's really hard. I kept telling myself to calm down, but clearly it didn't work. I'm not really into socializing, and I tend to warm up slowly. I've gotten used to being alone, and I can actually enjoy it. That's why I'd already prepared myself for going it solo when I started college. But Daniel was like this hyper little dog, wagging his tail like a propeller, jumping right at you if he sees someone, yelping loudly whenever anyone ignores him. Who could say no to a puppy that knows how to charm? I just couldn't say no to that. When freshman orientation started, I was the first one to arrive in the dorm room. Daniel showed up right after me. "You're so pretty." Daniel put down his suitcase and immediately started circling around me, eyes sparkling as he gave me a full once-over. He looked like he was almost 6 feet tall, over a head taller than me, so when he finally stopped pacing in circles, he leaned back slightly with his torso. That put us at eye level. Really, I've never met a guy this handsome before. I felt a bit awkward. Wasn't really used to chatting with strangers. But since we'd be living together for the next few years, I forced myself to smile politely and nod, saying, "Thanks, you're pretty handsome too." A thank you is just polite, but the compliment, that was totally genuine. He had one of those faces that anyone, kids, adults, everyone, just can't resist. He was seriously good-looking in a way that felt powerful yet never distant, and his slightly droopy dog eyes made him look effortlessly likable and sweet. His smile was especially powerful. Every time he grinned, it felt like wings and a halo popped out in dazzling brilliance. So dazzling that I had no chance to fight back. In short, he's handsome, and even more so when he smiles. He was dressed from head to toe in designer labels, with 2 expensive pairs of sneakers dangling from his suitcase. Definitely someone who loved playing basketball. That's just a full set of advantages stacked up at once. Tall stature, wealthy family background, an outgoing personality, and a face so perfectly sculpted it could have been molded by the goddess Nvois herself. Plus he can play basketball, a real charm move for winning hearts. I bet he's never stopped getting love letters since childhood. I figured, even though people like him usually stick to their own circle and we probably won't hang out much, we'll be in the same class and dorm room, so it makes sense to at least get acquainted. So I added, "Hi, I'm Thomas. We're going to be roommates from now on." Without hesitation, Daniel stepped forward and grabbed my hand with both of his, saying, Hey, man. Your name's as handsome as your face." "I'm Daniel, the Forgive character. Really glad to meet you." Daniel kept calling me bro non-stop. Later, once the other 2 guys arrived in the dorm, we all introduced ourselves, and it turned out he was actually younger than me. and even younger than all of us. He said he started school early, a year ahead of his peers, which is why he's 1 year younger than we are. Maybe it was because I was the first person he saw when he walked into the dorm, or some other reason. Either way, it wasn't at all what I'd expected. He only hung out occasionally with those friends who clearly came from the same background as him, but somehow ended up spending more time chasing after me. I'm not really into socializing. He thought that was a problem, too isolated, and dragged me to meet his friends instead. After being pressured by his friends to drink all night, he suddenly got upset and took me back to the dorm first, telling me not to hang out with those annoying people anymore. I don't like sports. He said that wasn't good for my health and insisted on dragging me to the basketball court to teach me how to play. As soon as we stepped onto the court, I tripped over a water bottle left behind by someone else. He was the first one to start muttering angrily about the terrible state of the court and those careless people. Muttering under his breath, he gave me this helpless look before quickly grabbing first aid supplies. He bandaged my knee while also begging me to come watch his next game. He called it a major boost in pride. When the good-looking guy who gets rescued from the weekly confession wall shows up, it really makes him feel seen. We don't like the same kinds of food. He prefers sweet, salty, and light flavors, while I go for spicy. Still, he dragged me to eat out anyway. I figured we'd just have a mild meal, but when the dishes arrived, I realized he had ordered everything exactly how I like it. I ended up crying from the heat, sniffling and gasping between breaths. "This food's terrible. So nice of you to eat with me, Thomas." Next time around, he still ordered exactly what I like. After spending more time together, I could really tell he's a genuinely kind and cheerful person. Being around him feels effortless and truly comfortable. It's hard to imagine anyone not liking someone like Daniel. Of course, I really like him too, but that's only the kind of affection you have for a good friend. Daniel treats me like a brother, like his best buddy. I swear I'll never betray his trust or develop any other feelings toward him. Even though I'm gay, I want to be a genuinely decent gay guy. I'm really proud of myself for having such high moral standards, but the problem is, he's just too much like a puppy. No matter how people react, he always rushes at them with a wagging tail full of enthusiasm. His ears flap up and down, showing his love for humans without any shame. He'd immediately press his fluffy body against you, nuzzling and pawing at you, always giving off positive vibes. Having someone like that around, good-looking, great figure, and full of charm, was hard to resist. I wasn't sure I could keep up my high moral standards anymore, so I quickly pulled back, starting a new romantic connection. Though it was still just occasional dinner dates and chatting online about book reviews, but I thought I'd managed to strike the right balance between normal friendship and one that could grow into romance. I kept the boundaries just right. Daniel was already one of my closest friends, and I'd honestly be happy to stay best friends with him for life if I could. That's why this situation left me feeling so deeply unsettled. Just thinking that the dog who always clings to you, never holds a grudge even after fights, and comes back within a minute, might slowly start ignoring you made my chest feel tight. But his size, definitely not that of a small dog. Actually, it was more like a big dog. Something like an Alaskan Malamute or a Golden Retriever. I ended up laughing at the image I'd conjured of that little dog. Just then, my phone started ringing. It hit me then that I'd been grinning at the desk all by myself. I quickly reached up and pulled down my smiling mouth. When I saw the caller ID, it was the person I just admitted to third brother that I wanted to get serious with. But the truth is, most people and things in this world are constantly changing. I'm not suddenly feeling down for no reason, nor have I just had some sudden epiphany about life's meaning. I'm just stating the current situation. For example, just a moment ago, I had someone I was thinking of getting serious with. Now, it's gone. There won't be any future either. After getting the call, I went downstairs and started walking with Vincent. We were supposed to stroll all the way to where we'd have dinner, but it wasn't even dinner time yet. Just now, I found out about this news that wasn't really a shock to me after all. Maybe it's because I've only ever felt friendship toward him, so I didn't really feel any regret or disappointment. I'm just really disappointed by this world where Zero is floating everywhere. I didn't question it because he's 6'4" and all muscle, so how did he assume I'd be the one taking the top role? I didn't dare to ask any further. Different people have different preferences. I guess we happened to be walking past the gym, and I quietly checked my reflection in the glassy outer wall of the building. I've always been clear about my sexual orientation, but I've never really paid attention to this so-called scene before. Could it Could it be that I'm actually the golden boy of this crowd? The one in a million? That can't possibly be right, can it? I blinked at my reflection in the glass. Wait, what? Two pairs of eyes. My heart kicked into overdrive, and I let out a sharp little gasp. I jumped backward in shock. So hard I almost flew 2 miles, and just like that, my heel caught on Vincent's foot beside me. He winced and pulled his leg back. I tried to step away too, but ended up tripping over both of us in one messy tumble. I staggered forward, nearly falling. Luckily, Vincent caught me in time, his arm shooting out to steady me. Right then, the one with the second pair of eyes, the real troublemaker, stepped out from inside. The newcomer marched in like a storm, glaring straight at Vincent's hand still resting on my waist. Before I could even react, he swung his hand straight at Vincent's arm. Let go! Let go! Let go! He was grunting as he kept going, not hard but loud enough to make a sound. Daniel! I blinked in confusion, staring at Daniel suddenly bursting out of the gym and attacking Vincent. The Daniel who had stormed out of the dorm after confessing his sexuality had ended up in a quiet corner of the gym, lost in deep thought. He was going through an intense internal struggle. It was really, really tough. As the only child in his family, his decision would determine whether his parents would ever have grandchildren, or even if their lineage would continue at all. Honestly, I had no idea about any of that. I had no idea which of my words made him start thinking about having children. Before Vincent and I even reached the gym, Daniel was already sitting inside, his elbows rested on his open knees, hands folded together under his chin as if deep in thought. His expression was serious and heavy. Once he calmed down, he felt regretful about rushing out like that. Realizing it had been extremely rude and hurtful, he was wondering if acting this way might be misread as homophobic. Daniel vowed in his heart that he absolutely wasn't. He'd just been caught off guard and hadn't figured out how to respond to this sudden test. It was also unexpected. This first love thing felt like a major life decision, not something you could rush into. At the very least, he thought, he should have had a cigarette before making any choice. He didn't know how to respond right away. It was also sudden. He thought first love was a big deal, something you couldn't rush. At the very least, he should have had a cigarette before deciding, but he didn't smoke and had no nicotine to calm down. So for a moment, he felt a little flustered, rattled, really almost desperate, blurting things out without thinking. Daniel heard me admit I was gay and actually felt both surprised and somehow expected at the same time. We spent a lot of time together, and he'd picked up on it bit by bit. Maybe that's because I never really tried to hide my orientation. Most importantly, he had this quiet hunch. I think he knew I liked him. How do you explain that? Check out Daniel's point of view, VCR style. Thomas isn't into sports but still hangs out to play with me. Thomas hates socializing but still comes along when I meet friends. Thomas dislikes crowded places but still shows up for my basketball games. Thomas loves spicy food but still goes along with eating light meals. If that's not love, if that's not care, how else do you explain Thomas handing me a napkin after dinner, or helping me stick the straw in my milk tea, or bringing me water right after I finished playing basketball, or passing me chopsticks during meals, or liking my posts on social media, or walking out of the bathroom shirtless after his shower? What else could this be but affection? What else could it possibly be but love? You wouldn't realize it unless you thought about it. Once I started thinking about it, the more I realized, on deeper reflection, it's terrifying. Even a quick glance sends chills down my spine. Thomas went to absolutely any length just so I'd fall for him. He's really good at it. Daniel's perspective ends here. That's why, when he heard me admit my orientation at the time, it only strengthened his conviction. Why didn't he say anything before? Why suddenly come out with something so abrupt like that? He must have been testing his reaction all along. That was just setting the stage for a confession or something like that. That's exactly it. Daniel was absolutely certain. But he wasn't gay, though. He'd been straight for 19 years. Daniel was utterly torn. The moment I mentioned having someone in mind to develop things with, he became even more convinced of his hunch. It felt like I was hinting at him. Hinting that I wanted something more between us. What if Thomas actually confessed to me? I'm really not gay. Daniel was utterly tormented. So in that urgent situation back in the dorm, his mind went blank and he kept repeating over and over that he wasn't gay. How could I be so cold-hearted? Won't Thomas feel really hurt? After his mind cooled down, he started scolding himself again. After giving himself a hard time, Daniel began thinking, so if I say no to my brother's confession, can we still stay brothers? I don't think that'd work, but Thomas is really handsome. You know, he looks good in class, walking around, dozing off, eating, even just waking up. He's all kinds of cute, and sometimes he's downright adorable. I really don't want to let go of Thomas, my brother, but I'm seriously not gay. But what if Thomas actually confessed to me? A boyfriend's just a friend, really. Daniel didn't even spend enough time debating whether to play one more game before he convinced himself, and suddenly felt completely lighthearted. He was about to send a message to apologize for slamming the door earlier. Hint, Thomas, male, I show him he knows my feelings and is willing to keep our rare brotherhood going by being with me. Daniel truly thought of himself as an incredibly loyal guy. True loyalty. That's definitely still Daniel, the original one. After convincing himself, he was in high spirits. Though he couldn't even figure out what exactly he was happy about, he happily fumbled around in his pockets for his phone. After digging around for a while, he finally remembered that when he jumped off the bed earlier, he must have tossed his phone somewhere. And since he ran off so fast, he never bothered to look for it. Looks like he'd have to go back to the dorm and explain everything in person. Felt kind of awkward, though. Something Daniel rarely experienced. Just thinking about what he was about to do made his breath and heartbeat race again right after they just settled down. Daniel felt like he was about to burst into flames, his mind exploding with fireworks. Man up and just go for it. For brotherhood, for this rare friendship. Daniel imagined himself carrying a banner that read, Brother's Oath, trying to rally his own courage. He took a deep breath, gathering all his nerve to come find me. Before he could even finish building up the courage, he spotted me outside the glass, and next to me, the giant with such a strong presence that it was impossible to ignore. Daniel always thought his height, 6'2", was something he'd proudly etch on his tombstone. Truly perfect. But the Vincent standing beside me was even taller, wearing a pink tank top that barely covered his arms, which were clearly defined from lifting. It was hard not to stare. He glanced at me and Vincent standing side by side, our close posture making it hard not to notice. Before courage even had a chance, anger surged up first. Daniel waved at me from inside first, only realizing I hadn't responded when he noticed the glare on the glass outside, blocking his view, so he just pressed his face right against the glass, trying to get my attention. Startled me half out of my skin. And that's how we ended up with this awkward scene. Eventually, Vincent gave in to Daniel's relentless persistence and let me go. I was just about to introduce the two of them to each other. Daniel immediately swung his arm around me, pulling me into his space, then forced out a smile that wasn't quite sincere. Hey there, you must be Thomas's new friend. I've never heard him mention you before. Daniel really emphasized the never part, then leaned his head onto my shoulder. I suddenly felt a warm tingle along my neck, and the scent of his body wash filled my nose. Noticing he wasn't being very polite, I glanced apologetically at Vincent across from me. I raised my hand to gently push his head up, only for him to smoothly press his cheek against my palm and rub it a little. What's the difference between this and a puppy being cute? Who could possibly say no to that? I don't think I can really resist. In that case, I guess I have no choice but to spoil him a little, so I decided to indulge him in this behavior. Vincent gave me a quick glance and then said, Hi there. I'm Vincent. We've known each other for quite a while. Probably because we mostly chat online, which is why you've never met me before. Daniel remembered our chat window that was basically just filled with money transfer records, and he nearly ground his back teeth to dust. Then he shot me a wistful look. ? I said, confused. What's wrong? I blinked slowly, still not catching on to what he was upset about. Daniel decided to steer clear of a topic where he had no advantage and switched into his read and randomly reply mode. Oh, so you must not get to see Thomas much in person, right? Unlike me. Thomas always drags me along wherever he goes. Is that how it is? I thought for a moment and figured Daniel was probably stretching the truth a bit. I'm not really into going out much, but if he's talking about coming back to the dorm after class and always inviting me along, then I guess that counts. Daniel went on. Dude, your muscles are looking solid. Mine aren't as impressive as yours, but hey, Thomas says he's into this type. Is that how it is? I recalled again and confirmed Daniel was clearly twisting the facts. The truth was, once he came out of the shower wearing just big shorts, his body had that perfect mix of strength and definition, really fitting the classic East Asian ideal. And then I looked at my own skinny frame with no signs of ever working out. I couldn't help but feel a little envious, so I ended up daydreaming. I wonder if I could get muscles like Daniel someday? That was all. Daniel kept talking. The weather's pretty nice today, isn't it? How come you know Thomas brings me breakfast every single day? Is that how it is? I went over it in my head, and I'm pretty sure Daniel was just making things up. I don't usually bring him breakfast. He's the one who runs early in the morning, so he almost always brings me breakfast when he gets back. Ever since I came out about my orientation this morning, I've been growing more and more confused by Daniel's behavior right now, and I'm just as puzzled by the occasional sideways glances Vincent gives me. Like he's hiding something. The whole weird one-sided competition from Daniel fizzled out once Vincent's roommate came over to remind him to bring the food back. The moment Vincent left, it was just me and Daniel left alone together. He finally lifted his head from my shoulder, scratched the back of his head, and stood beside me in a quiet, slightly shy way. This seemed like a perfect moment to talk to him. I wanted to hear his thoughts on the fact that I'm gay. Honestly, I didn't get why he'd reacted so strongly back in the dorm, but now he was acting just like usual, except even more clingy. If anything, he was extra affectionate compared to normal. I took a breath and chose my words carefully. Daniel, about my sexuality, I'm in. Daniel turned bright red instantly, but his voice came out strong and clear. In for what? No one's proposing here. I could almost hear my brain creaking and clicking as it started to spin. Seeing me stand frozen, Daniel suddenly turned away. All I could see was a solid back and 2 ears so red they looked like they were bleeding. The next second, he erupted in rapid-fire speech, like a machine gun at double speed. And the faster he talked, the more frantic he got, chattering away with an urgent, Thomas, you don't have to keep saying it. I'm willing to be your boyfriend. You're so into me and you're such a genuinely great, sweet person, so I'm gonna try my best to fall for you too. I feel like loving you would be super easy, so I've already decided. I'll go home right after this and tell my parents we're dating, and since we can't have kids of our own, I'll just let my cousin take over the family mine. Or if you'd rather adopt one, we could decide on a name together. Hold on. Can anyone help me translate this into Chinese, please? For a split second, I almost thought my brain had short-circuited. Otherwise, why would I suddenly not understand Chinese anymore? Daniel, hold on for a sec. He was already deep into picking out baby names. Couldn't let him go on like that. You mean I'm into him? When did I even start liking him? This is a big deal. Didn't anyone bother to tell me first? Is this even right? Daniel, I think there must be some misunderstanding between us. It has to be, definitely is, absolutely true. Before I could finish speaking, my face was already burning red, so he must have thought the person I meant to develop with was him. Thought I liked him? No wonder he reacted so strongly when he found out I'm gay. What a huge misunderstanding this is. Once everything's cleared up, I'll really have to go over what I did during our time together. Figure out exactly where things went wrong and made him think I liked him. Actually, maybe, could it be? I struggled to get the words out. This kind of thing is still way too awkward for me. Just saying, I don't like you, you're overthinking it, would probably make Daniel feel embarrassed. And I don't want him to vanish on me because of that if I don't explain and just let the misunderstanding run its course. Daniel seems ready to give himself completely. Daniel rubbed his burning ears and turned around. Thomas, you think things are moving too fast too, right? I feel that way too, but I wanted to respond quickly to your feelings. I didn't want you to get hurt. He's really kind. Not sure why, but I feel touched. My heart feels all mushy. Seeing him like this, the explanation just kept circling in my mouth and I couldn't bring myself to say it. Even if he misunderstands that I like him, I guess that's okay. If he can't accept it, then so be it. The worst part is, he's actually already made peace with it. If things keep going like this, maybe I should suggest he try some herbal medicine? It's not healthy to just accept being in a same-sex relationship so easily. Daniel, you're really someone special. Even though you misunderstood that I liked you, you still managed to convince yourself otherwise. I'm truly touched by that. I stressed the word misunderstanding so hard, afraid he might miss it, but I also need to apologize, to be honest. Maybe during our time together, I did something a bit too far that I didn't even realize at the time, which led to your misunderstanding. It's not your fault. It's mine. Sorry. Daniel was exactly at that age where pride matters a lot, so I chose my words as carefully as possible, hoping he wouldn't feel embarrassed. Before the words even finished, Daniel clearly froze. His mouth stuck in place. His mind went blank for a second, like his thoughts had been shaken up and then suddenly snapped back into place. You don't like me? So the person you're thinking of developing something with is who? He finally got it, really got it, clicked all at once. He was completely enlightened. If he didn't get it now, he really was an idiot. Daniel felt his heart clench uncontrollably. He finally realized I never had feelings for him, and he also understood that when I said there was someone I wanted to get closer to, it wasn't a hint aimed at him. It was because I really was seeing someone else right now. So Daniel immediately pictured Vincent. Thick brows, tall and broad-shouldered, built like a brick house with muscles rippling under his skin. The kind who could probably knock out a bull with one punch. The guy I'd just been walking with. His mind instantly added sparkly eye effects, pink heart bubbles, and a cute romantic anime soundtrack to the image of us walking together, playing it on loop in his head over and over again, playing once every second. Heart frozen solid like concrete. Daniel couldn't even explain why he felt that way himself. There was no awkwardness, like when you realize you've been fooling yourself all along with your own delusions and fantasies. And there wasn't that relieved feeling. Phew, thank goodness he doesn't like me, so we can just stay good friends. It just felt really annoying and uneasy, watching Daniel's face turn from green to red, then white, and finally a sickly shade of green. Really not a good look at all. I couldn't think of anything to say in that moment. To be honest, I'm not really good at talking anyway. I guess I misunderstood. I'll head out now. Thomas, you go back to the dorm first. I'll stop by my place on the way home and bring something tasty for us later. Before I could say anything, Daniel spoke up, forcing a weak smile after each sentence. I'd been sitting in the dorm for a while already, and Daniel's retreating figure just kept playing over and over in my mind. If I were in that kind of situation, I'd be hiding under a rock for days. So embarrassed that I'd want to hang myself with a noodle just thinking about it at midnight. I kept worrying he'd go find a slab of tofu and bump his head on it, then suddenly burst out laughing at the absurdity of it all. Honestly, I was just a mess emotionally, but my mind didn't stay tangled for long. Before I knew it, all that was left was pure shock. Before long, I got a message from third brother. Daniel had been in a car crash and suffered full-body crush fractures. He's still in critical condition in ICU. I was absolutely stunned. So shaken that my heart felt like it was racing at beats per minute. If things got any more intense, I'd probably end up in the hospital mice. I tried to stand up but nearly collapsed. My legs were so weak I couldn't even get off the seat. On the way to the hospital, I was drenched in sweat. I was sweating so hard my palms slipped on the steering wheel. We made it to the outpatient building of the hospital, lucky to have avoided any serious trouble with young Master 3. Before either of us could even ask the nurse where the ICU was, we saw brother pushing Daniel, sitting in a wheelchair, one leg in a cast and looking downcast, coming out of the elevator. That was quite an unexpected sight. Felt like we'd been played, but I guess I could finally breathe a little easier. Just glad he's okay. Still, the situation clearly left both sides a bit stunned, and Daniel, normally scowling with that leg in a cast, suddenly lit up, then scratched his cheek. I knew exactly what that meant. Another idea had just clicked into place. Seriously? Breaking a bone and you're making such a big deal out of it? I said, surprised. I quietly pointed toward the third brother who had passed on the message to me. Wrong. The third brother jumped back 2 steps, quickly defending himself. When the elder received Daniel's call for help, he just picked up dinner meant for the third brother, so he had no choice but to hand it over to a friend walking with him. The friend was in a hurry to get to Youth League headquarters, so he passed it on to a club member instead, and thus, the dinner relay began. Daniel's injury details were passed along in the same way. Broken bone. Right now, he's at the school gate. Did he get hit by a car there? The youngest in their dorm might have been in a car crash and broke a bone. No one knows how serious it is. Fractured? Whole body or just one spot? If it's bad, he'd probably need to go to the ICU, right? And so the rumor spread, getting wilder and wilder. By the time it reached young Master Thomas, it had turned into a car crash caused full-body shattered fractures, still not out of danger in ICU. After listening to third brother's explanation, I finally noticed that Daniel, who had been silent all along, was staring at me with teary eyes. He said he was moved to tears. Then Daniel lowered his voice and spoke with deep emotion. Thomas, I had no idea you cared about me this much. You were worried. You were anxious. Yet you keep saying you don't like me? You're clearly in love with me. Third brother shuddered from head to toe, his skin crawling as he grimaced and said, so no personal boundaries. What a straight guy. The eldest nodded in agreement. Straight guys just don't know how to hold back. Who said I'm straight? Daniel gave a bashful little smile, then glanced at me with a sly look. Maybe I was for the first 20 years. But I'm officially not anymore. Wait, wasn't it just his leg that got hurt? Does it affect the brain too? The two older brothers were shocked. I was shocked too. Why are you looking at me? It shouldn't have anything to do with me, right? I kept glancing around nervously, just avoiding eye contact with Daniel. Could it really be because of me? He was saying, I'm not gay. I'm not gay this morning, and at lunch he only seemed half-hearted about even trying to like me. How can he suddenly not be straight now? Is it possible he's evolving a bit too fast? When I met the skeptical stares from my two older brothers, those looks of disbelief from guys who just found out this morning that I'm an actual gay, I quickly shook my head, pretending to be confused. Seeing I wasn't reacting, Daniel instantly switched from shy to accusatory, his eyes welling up with tears like he was about to cry. Thomas, I'm not mad at you, but why didn't you come after me this afternoon? Didn't you see through my act of pretending to be strong? Daniel let out a quiet sigh. If you'd followed me, I probably wouldn't have gotten hurt. I was caught off guard and froze for a second, still trying to process it. When he suddenly changed the subject, still I get it, that guy Vincent must mean more to you than I do. Before I could say anything, Daniel suddenly wrapped his arms around his casted leg and started breathing in sharp little gasps. My leg. It hurt so bad. I still didn't understand what my part had to do with his broken bone, but after a quick mental tug of war, I ended up worrying about Daniel more than anything else. I rushed forward and leaned down. Sorry, Daniel, what's going on? Should we get you some pain relief shots? Daniel heard me speaking and suddenly looked up. We nearly ended up with our lips almost touching, so close it was awkward. I caught the same shower gel scent on him as earlier in the afternoon. My heart seemed to skip a beat. Daniel couldn't help letting out a little chuckle at the thought of what he was about to say. If you hug me, Thomas, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much. I instantly realized he was messing with me. The heat rushed to my face, and I didn't even need a mirror to know I must have been bright red. This morning I'd been annoyed by his same creepy behavior, then stressed all afternoon over rumors about his car accident. And now he's making this weird joke with no real meaning. With the elder and third brother watching, I was really starting to feel embarrassed and angry. After a whole day of emotional roller coaster, all that tension finally started to boil over. I turned around and walked out. Just as I reached the parking lot, Daniel, finally realizing his joke had gone too far, came wheeling after me with a flustered look on his face and grabbed my sleeve. The older brother and third brother, who followed us, quickly got into the car to wait for us, showing they knew just what to do. I'd originally planned to ignore him and just walk away, but seeing Daniel's casted leg straining almost off the wheelchair, looking like he was about to set some medical record from sheer panic, I gave in with a sigh and helped him back into place. I didn't look at him once from start to finish. Sorry, brother, I shouldn't have made that joke. Daniel was on the verge of tears this time. Honestly, usually I wouldn't get upset over a joke like that, but after everything that happened today, it felt like he was deliberately teasing me about my orientation. But Daniel isn't the kind of person who'd do something like that. I know that for sure. So I took a deep breath to calm down, and the warmth on my face slowly faded. Finally, I looked Daniel in the eye. Daniel, I don't know why you're making this kind of joke, but I'm into guys, so I'd really like us to just stay friends, clear boundaries, like before. Daniel pouted, his voice trembling with a mix of frustration and sorrow as he mumbled out, "But I like you. I don't want to just be friends. I want to date you." I let out a laugh. "You said earlier." Before I could finish, Daniel blurted out without thinking, "That was just what a dog would say. Not me." I figured it all out this afternoon. I know for sure I like you. Seeing that I didn't believe him, he kept going. I've never dated anyone before, never even liked someone, least of all a guy, so I was slow to realize how I felt about you. Turns out, I've been into you all along. I only just figured it out myself. That's why no matter what you do, I always think you're incredibly beautiful and adorable. That's why I unconsciously keep wanting to get close to you, to stick by your side. And that's why seeing you walk together with that Vincent made me so insanely jealous. The more Daniel spoke, the sadder he felt, and his voice began to tremble as he choked back tears. Why didn't you even think about me when you were planning to get serious with that Vincent? Isn't it supposed to be the one who's closest gets the first pick? Why do I have no advantage at all? The moment he brought it up, Daniel got even more worked up, completely miserable, and big tears started rolling down his cheeks. I was so furious at the time that I just wanted to kick something to blow off steam, but ended up kicking a concrete post instead. Daniel was crying so hard his mouth looked like it was about to hit the sky. Seeing him like that, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. All the bad feelings vanished in an instant. Daniel is too adorable. Seeing me laugh, Daniel blew his nose with a loud sniff and quickly grabbed my hand, pressing it right over his heart. If you still don't believe me, bro, listen to this. It's pounding out of rhythm just for you. The moment my hand landed on his chest, the frantic heartbeat that had been thundering in my ears ever since Daniel said he liked me slowly began to match his own. An extra chapter. After realizing Thomas doesn't like me, I stepped out of the gym and took 2 deep breaths, trying to push down the sudden wave of bitterness in my chest. Right now, I feel like I really need to let off some steam about this strange emotion building up inside me. I didn't even know why I felt so down. I just kept going in circles, dragging myself into a dead end. Why is that? I just can't make sense of it. I don't get why Thomas doesn't like me. I don't understand why it's not me he likes. If Thomas is gay, and he's gonna like a guy anyway, why couldn't that guy be me? My chest felt so tight and heavy, my throat closed up, and my nose started to burn. Boys don't cry easily, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. I had to let it out. I blew my nose and gave myself 2 hard punches to the chest. At that moment, even if just 2 leaves drifted by, I'd have kicked them. Right then, there was a poster stand for a club event standing nearby. The headline stood out. Say goodbye to being single, friendship event. That just lit a fuse inside me. I was about to let off some steam. It's just a poster. Tomorrow I'll apologize and pay for it. No big deal. Turn sorrow into anger, then channel that rage into strength. So much force it sent Daniel kicking the innocent billboard. The sharp pain of a cracked bone came before the usual relief after letting off steam. What was that behind the sign? A stone pillar. Pain. Ow, it hurts so bad. I really can't believe my luck. It's just terrible. Why am I even this angry? Anyway, I kept limping as I tried to trace back why everything went wrong. My mind was a complete mess. I couldn't make sense of anything, and all I could picture were Thomas's different expressions. Laughing, sad, angry, shocked. So many faces, flooding in one after another. I didn't even realize before how vividly every version of Thomas was etched in my mind. I felt so hurt, my leg ached, and I really missed Thomas. Hey, could it actually be that I'm the one who likes Thomas? It only took a blink of an eye for everything to click. It was like a light bulb went off. Suddenly everything made sense. It was like a miracle of pain. The pain literally opened up my vital energy channels. It hit me all at once. Everything made sense now. I accepted loving Thomas in 0 seconds flat. Same old truth. Falling for Thomas is seriously easy. He's just that good. No wonder I find Thomas adorable no matter how I look at him. I let out a couple of chuckles, but then the sharp pain in my leg made me wince again. What a painful realization. I didn't hold back at all. Kicked him hard and even built up some power before the strike. Looks like he's got at least a broken bone. And now another problem pops up. I like Thomas, but what if Thomas doesn't like me back? Think about it. I was born into privilege and have sailed through life with ease. Flirtation skills maxed out, love letters piling up. In just 19 years, I've lived a more colorful life than most people do in a lifetime. Never thought I'd end up facing both emotional and physical pain at once. Am I really going to suffer my first major defeat right at 19 when I'm just starting to fall for someone? As the future heir to a mining empire. Is this it? My very first crush. And barely even realized I had feelings, already ending in failure. Love at first sight, heartbreak before even getting started, falling apart on a boring day with no stormy skies or snowy landscapes, just 1 week away from his 20th birthday. Could it really be this ordinary? Losing a love interest was bad enough, but then I broke my leg too. Breaking my leg was bad enough. The thought of Thomas getting together with that what's-her-name and then acting all lovey-dovey in front of me, holding hands, whispering sweet nothings. It sent my blood pressure skyrocketing. If they're already holding hands just to be together, what kind of trouble will they cause when they actually get married? Kissing? That's one thing I can't handle. No way am I just going to let that go. This is something I absolutely can't accept. Just thinking about those intimate scenes makes me want to punch a hole in the earth. The more I think about it, the sadder I feel. My legs ached and my heart hurt, tears streaming down my cheeks. Just dwelling on those intimate images made me so furious I felt like punching a hole through the planet. I felt completely wrecked inside. I needed medical help but couldn't move my leg easily. And my phone wasn't even on me. After waiting here for a while, I finally managed to grab the first passing classmate to borrow their phone. I'd originally planned to call Thomas, but then I thought again. I still couldn't get over being mad that he didn't like me. In the end, I dialed my boss's number instead. Turns out, good fortune can follow bad luck. When things hit rock bottom, there's always a way forward, and hope shines again when you least expect it. Even though I broke my bone, I immediately got Thomas's attention and started his pursuit of me. Even though I broke my bone, Thomas still helped me bathe. Even though I broke my bone, whenever I said I was hurting, Thomas would just hold me close. A broken bone. Totally worth it. Thomas even drew a simple little crying golden retriever on my cast. He said this little doodle looked just like me, and he also said it was really cute. So in other words, that's basically saying I'm adorable, right? The only downside is that Vincent sometimes shows up. That's a major threat to me. I have no idea how far he and Thomas have gotten so far. Thomas hasn't officially said yes to my confession. What if Vincent beats me to it? I'm so stressed out. I'm pacing back and forth like crazy, even thinking about tying Thomas to my leg. Vincent. We've always been just friends. Thomas slowly leaned in and brushed his lips against my cheek. It was soft. Thomas just kissed my cheek. The realization hit me and I instantly felt myself heat up. I stood frozen, hands still on the spot where he'd kissed me, my lips curling upward without any control. Watching Thomas walk to the dorm door and then glance back at me with a smile, I suddenly figured out what my birthday gift is going to be tomorrow.